Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Okay.
Let's see if we are live. You are now interacting.
It says you're now.
Oh, we're live. We're live. Thank goodness. We'll let everybody, we're waiting for people to join us. I'm going to minimize my, it's like launching a rocket doing these fun Facebook Lives. Oh, we've already got people. Teresa says hello. Jenny Crisp says hello. Bridget says hello. Janny. Trina. Hi, Trina. We're just going to wait for a few people to get here. I'm going to make some introductions. Everyone like my new hat?
It's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Because we're doing our Halloween edition, or actually our pre-Halloween edition, right?
Oh, Kevin, what's behind you?
A broom.
A broom?
We'll talk about that. I wonder who made that broom. Oh, I bet you did. So I'm going to wait to get a couple more people. We have 10 people, and I'm going to go ahead and do our introduction. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Psychic Mediums Live pre-Halloween special. We're going to be talking about all things Halloween, the Witch of Endor, and more. I'm your host, Kevin Paul, Psychic and Medium from Washington, D.C. My special guest today is my best friend and colleague who lives in Baltimore, Reverend David B.G. Flaherty. Welcome, Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you very kindly, Your Grace.
Your Grace. You're the grace. You're the bishop and the priest and the all together. So tell everyone who you are and about your, what ministry you actually do, because it's pretty special.
Sure. So I am David Flaherty. I serve as a pastor with the United Church of Christ with a small community here in Baltimore, but Kevin has been from the very beginning with me, as I have been ordained priest within the independent sacramental movement of Catholics, which is Catholics who may have been raised Roman Catholic or perhaps raised some other denomination, but seek to be Catholic and yet find themselves usually not welcome or not welcome to be who they are. So for sacraments and just sort of celebration of the Catholic heritage and culture, I serve as a priest and a bishop. And it is a joy to share and to minister both to folks within the parish of St. Sebastian, Catholic parish, but also people from all kinds of walks of life who might find they'd like to have their Catholicism celebrated, and we do that. We celebrate that. I am also, as you may have guessed from my last name, Irish. And so there is a tremendous amount of pride in the traditions of the Celts that got us to All Hallows Eve, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Exactly, our pre-Halloween special. So I advertised about something that is found in the Bible. It's the Witch of Endor. So I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Flaherty. Tell us about the Witch of Endor in the Bible. I think it starts with a reading, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, 100 points to the person that can tell us the 1960s television series whose main character, their mother, has a name which is attached to this reading. Bum, 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 bum. We'll see at the end if anybody has it.
I'll just monitor the comments.
So in the first book of Samuel, which is in the Hebrew Testament of the Bible, we hear about prophets and kings, and one king in particular, Saul, who is lost, just lost. And by that, in years past, I might say we might not have an understanding of just how lost this guy is. But after this past year, I think we do. Places where he would usually find information or comfort or some sort of encouragement, it's all been shut off to him. So the prophets are not speaking to him. The Hebrew traditions, God is not speaking to Saul, and he's lost some sort of encouragement. As king, Saul decided a while ago to put out all of the mediums. Now so that's another word for witches or magicians, just to put them all out of the land and illegal to participate in whatever it is that they do. And yet Saul is so lost, he says, I need to speak to a medium. So they go to a medium in Endor. There's your clue. In Endor, they find a medium. They go to her. Saul disguises himself. He asks, to have someone brought up. He says, use your ritual pit and bring up for me. And she wants to know, she goes, look, the king has put us all out. You're asking me to put my life in jeopardy. And he said, I promise you, you'll be safe. She goes, well, who do you want? So, and it's the language of who do you want me to bring up? I think Kevin and many of you might recognize that language. So he says Samuel. So she brings up Samuel, and it scares the crap out of her. It scares everybody there, because here comes Samuel, and he's not happy.
And he's a prophet, right?
He's a prophet, and he was sleeping. And he says, why have you disturbed me? And so there's, she realizes who it is. She realizes that Saul is the king that had put them out. She realizes this is a terrible mess she shouldn't have gotten involved in. And at the end of this encounter, there is every reason for us to believe her next statement is, get out. Just get out of here. You have put me, my life, my household, you get out. And yet, what happens is she says, look, I listen to you, now you're going to listen to me. Because she sees that he is terrified. He's drained, it says he's drained of all energy. He hasn't eaten during the day or the night. She says, I listen to you, now you're going to listen to me. You're going to sit and you're going to eat something and you're going to rest. She doesn't fix everything. She doesn't say it's going to be okay. She says, you're going to eat and you're going to sleep. And then you're going to go face what you need to face. And I think it's one of the most amazing readings in that from the least expected place, he finds exactly what he needed.
And he wanted to find out from the prophet how he was going to do in the war the next day against the Philistines, right?
Yeah. And he was used to being able to get that. But it's
that's right. He was not able to get it through dreams or through any other means. So he wasn't able to communicate with God. And he wanted to then bypass and say, I'd like to speak with a witch, in this case, a psychic medium from 2,000 years ago or more. Like, I need some advanced information. I need to consult with the prophet. And I don't think he had very nice things to say, did he? He's like, it's not going to go well tomorrow.
Well, there are details of, so he gets this. But for what strikes me so much about this is that I don't think anyone of us listening to this needs much explanation as to understand what it feels like to know that the places that we always go to for information, the places we always go to, that person that you speak to or the news station, no matter what, you turn this one on and we always find what we need is lost. I don't think any of us need any interpretation of what that feels like after the last year. So I just think, now this reading was traditionally always used during the Episcopal Church, used it as a vigil reading for All Saints Day because it has a witch in it. But I just think there's so much more in it, in that, and this is what I think is one of the good things about the Judeo-Christian even Muslim tradition, is that God is found most powerful in those who are least expected to help. I think that's a powerful message as well.
Say that again. I think it's an important message.
God, goodness, love is found most powerfully in those who are least expected to help. Either because they're the wrong people, or they don't have anything to give, or they're seen as poor, or they're seen as outcasts. And every single time, God uses those people to speak to power, and to comfort, and nurture, and to love.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that little tidbit of information.
So did you want to talk about the Celtic tradition, the traditions of All Hallows?
Yes, because you're Irish, and I know we've got Halloween coming. We have All Saints Day. We have All Souls Day. Take us through these special days, which have origins in pagan history, and then the Christian church took some of them and changed them. So give us a brief history on what we got coming up this week.
Well, so, and always with trepidation in today's world, where we're seeking to speak with people of faith with respect and the dignity due any community of faith. It is with trepidation that as a Catholic and a Christian, I talk about how we took on the original traditions of the people of the Celts, named either pagan or earthbound. That other traditions had already held these as sacred, and Christians made them into something else. It doesn't sound as harmful as it actually has been, and so I want to recognize the painful history and the desire. It's in today's world never to put down another faith tradition, but to realize we are all people of faith in some way. But yes, so in the Celtic tradition there is in this October-November transition a night upon which the veil between the world of the dead and the living is stretched so thin that people can pass back and forth, that folks will come and visit, and here's our veil being stretched. Kevin is giving us an image of that. And in that is both fear, because you have no idea who's coming across. But even more powerful than that, I find, is the human desire to have even a moment of contact with our dead, the ones who have gone before, the ones that we love, the ones that we would give anything, even just for a moment, maybe to speak something specifically like I'm sorry, or I'm worried about you, or I don't understand. There's such a frantic desire that people on this night would, rather than what fear usually does, which is shut everyone in, close the door, every single time there's a knock at the door, it's opened, and there's hospitality, because it could be my dearest friend, it could be my grandmother, and so as not to miss anyone. Everyone is afforded this hospitality. So you have the door-to-door hospitality, where you open the door, and that's a frantic and courageous hospitality. You open the door no matter what, and you have something for them. The little glowing lanterns, they would take these root vegetables and howl them out and put a burning ember inside of them, as if to say again, here's a place to come, here's a place to stop. On a night when fear would seemingly close everybody up, on this night, it opens people's hearts and minds. I think it's so powerful. But also, I think it's something very organic that we have experienced this year as well. Over the years, it's turned into kids in costumes, and we've had this hospitality. I know most of our neighborhoods have shut down trick-or-treating this year, and I mourn that. That's a night where I have a concrete connection to my neighborhood with the dads and the moms and the kids, and I'll miss that tremendously this year. But also it's artificial. I know it's going to be kids coming, and so I have a bowl of candy, and it's not so organic. Also, the fear aspect of this night, we have Hollywood that will make these movies that will set us up so that during this movie, we're going to be afraid of the clown, or the horrible character that nobody, like, we have to create these moments to really be scared. There's no need for that this year. The thought that from, over the last year, how do you differentiate the fear that we've lived in every day from this night of fear? And yet, I think this year there's an organic quality to it that makes it ours more so than ever. Now, so I've got my gourd and my lanterns and the colors black and orange, and different traditions. I know on All Hallows Night, I will set up pictures of my loved ones, friends, and relatives who have died, and have candles and flowers. And before I do any hospitality, I always I built an honoring of them. That's always been a tradition for me. Kevin, you have some things behind you that are part of your All Hallows Eve traditions, I think.
So All Hallows Eve is what we call Halloween, right? For Halloween, I like to dress up as the Wicked Witch of the West from, the Wizard of Oz. And you actually can see that she has her own Facebook page, Wicked Witch DC. And then I go out and, I love to scare the dogs and, the adults, and have fun with it. And David Flaherty, you were the Winky Guard last year. So I dressed you up as the guard, the witch's guard, and we zipped around the DuPont Circle area and had some fun. And the broom that I have here is very authentic, and of course David made that because he is very crafty and amazing with little details. So I have fun. That's my kind of like getting out and having some Halloween fun.
She's also become a prophetic voice in DC. She showed up at some other things in Halloween lately.
Oh, like what do you mean? What are you talking about?
I believe she was cited at the Women's March.
Oh, that's right. The Wicked Witch of the West made the first 2017. Yeah, we all went, and I said, well, what am I going to do? I mean, it's a Women's March. I'm a man. I'll dress up as the Wicked Witch of the West. And the little placard I had on my front was, "He is scarier than me." And we just had some fun with that big event.
He couldn't go 2 steps without people. He was just surrounded by people
who just wanted to take photographs of, when everybody else was, in mass protesting and walking around, there's this green witch, why not take a picture with the green witch? So I had fun. You didn't last very long because there's way too many people for you, right? I think we got you like across the mall and around, and then you were like,
I was convinced that we'd been there for 2 hours.
Yeah, I gotta go. Bye-bye.
It was the most, I'm a major introvert, but it was the most astounding experience. And there were 2 million people that were angry and upset, but politely and gracefully moving together. They would sing, and you could feel, you could hear the song. When you've got 2 million people, someone starts singing something, at least 100 of them know what it is. You could hear the music move through the crowd. It was the most unbelievable experience. It just was so powerful.
Peaceful protests are always amazing. We've been through a few. So that's All Hallows Eve or Halloween. What is the next 2 around there? All Saints Day, All Souls Day.
So again, it's that. So when the Christian church understood that this was a powerful celebration, and at its core, a human desire, which is to make that connection. All Hallows, All Saints, November 1st becomes All Saints Day, which is a recognition of, again, recently it has been a recognition of traditionally recognized saints. But from the beginning, it was anyone who bore the faith and has died and gone before. So there's this idea that this is our journey. One day we'll be on the other side of the veil. And so that's another part of that hospitality. We do things today that will be done for us at another point. So All Saints Day is a recognition of those who have died and quote unquote made it. All Souls Day is that crazy human, and I think especially Irish emotion, which is, and for those who don't quite make it, for those for whom there's worry or fear, and rather than the dogmatic of who's in and who's out, just that longing. So All Souls Day is a day where people pray for those who are stuck. And again, Kevin, I know in your work and in others who work as mediums, you find these people that are stuck, that are not at peace. And so this was a day when we prayed. We prayed for anyone who has died, especially those who are, for lack of a better word, stuck and not in a place of peace. And I think it's just the most human. The other thing is, so this is the autumnal. In spring, of course, as Catholics and Christians, we celebrate Easter and Good Friday and Holy Thursdays, the 3 days, which specifically commemorate Jesus and his passion, his death, and resurrection. And that's something that we hope to participate in. This autumnal 3 days sort of is how that's our day. That's our opportunity to see ourselves as part of it, because we know that we will be where our loved ones have gone one day. There is no way that we will not be part of this process. So it's interesting.
The day after All Souls Day is the day after Halloween?
So it's All Hallows Eve,
which is October the 31st.
All Saints Day on November 1st, and All Souls Day on November 2nd.
Oh, okay.
And again, when we talk about human desire, you look across the world and these days are celebrated in so many different ways by different cultures. We've become aware of, most recently, Dies Muertes, which again is that celebration, that not just celebration, but commemoration that we have been fiercely loved. And so people go to the cemetery and set up altars and bring the food and that which reminds them.
Very Mexican tradition, right? Those Central Latino, Central American, South American tradition.
So I wonder if anyone's come up with our 100 points.
Yes, we have a couple of winners who said the mother of a television star in the 60s, Andorra, is from Bewitched, and we have a couple of folks who called Bewitched. Let me see if I can find them here on.
And you win. Well,
Angie Brown and Janny Crisp,
look what you
and Teresa Platt. They all said Bewitched.
Well done, you.
Well done, you. So we've talked about the Witch of Endor, and what she does and what she did was, back in the day, there were people who were mediums, psychics and mediums. They didn't call them such. That seems to be a term of, the last couple of centuries. And Halloween, which day is when the veil is really thin, but they say between the two worlds?
That's the 31st.
The 31st. And I was like, well, that's interesting. For me, the work I do as a medium is I do it on demand. I open up and I tap into, connect with those past loved ones of people, and I do it in my readings every week. And it's just a matter of, the veil doesn't have to be, thinned on a certain day for me to do it, thank goodness, because otherwise, if I only had to do it on one day a year, it wouldn't be very fun. But I enjoy doing that kind of work because everyone likes to be able to reach back out to their past loved ones. And my job is to create a reunion, to paint them back to life when I do a mediumship reading. And, I don't know all the mechanics about how it works, but I certainly have, been doing it now for a couple of years, and it's been amazing. Every time I'm making connections, it amazes me, and I'm always very surprised. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know anything about this person, but using my abilities as a clairvoyant or a clairaudient or clairsentient, being able to gather the information from their loved ones. I always say their loved ones are not with me. I'm just kind of tapping into and hooking into the energy that's around the person I'm talking to over the phone or in person. But these days it's over the phone. And I really feel it's a mission of healing, a healing ministry, that, you know, bringing closure, bringing some comfort, bringing some love, bringing whatever the messages are. And they're all such varied messages from, you know, I'm so proud of who you've become as a young, you know, as this young woman and mother, to thank you so much for the care that you provided towards the end of my life. You know, I sometimes see them holding hands, you know, at the very end of their life, and this very calm, you know, transition, but they're there and they want to let you know that they were aware of it. They want to thank you, and to show that appreciation. Little stuff like that. There are messages all over the board, but typically, you know, this it's always brings a bit of healing. You know, people are like, oh, did she or he really know that I was there with them at the very end? And it's amazing the messages that I get from their past loved ones. It's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And the Witch of Endor, you know, she was doing it back in her day too, thousands of years ago, and I guess it's been going on for many millions of years, because this ability is nothing new in the 21st century, but it is very humbling for me to be able to do this kind of work, and I really enjoyed it. I love being able to provide that ministry of healing for folks. Great fun, and I've had so many interesting stories about what they have to say, and the evidence that I try to gather when I do these readings to make sure that I'm not just saying, oh, I've got your mother here and she has this message. I want to be able to provide as much evidence of who they were when they were alive, from personality, what they did, what they enjoyed doing with you, or some of their hobbies, to the point of, you know, maybe even, you know, what was the end of life like? Was it quick and fast? Was it a slow? I mean, this is part of the evidence so that we can establish some credibility, and that I'm not guessing, but I'm actually tapping into, and that they feel comfortable that I actually have their, you know, mother, their father, their brother, their sister, their spouse. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And sometimes I'll even get, you know, their dog. So it is a lot of, it's amazing. And I've had some amazing training around the world, and I love doing this kind of work.
I have in particular been blessed a number of times where Kevin has spoken to me about someone who's gone ahead, someone who's died. And
close to you, right?
oh, I mean, the word healing and compassion, it's been a very powerful experience, and one of which I'm extremely grateful for. And for folks like Kevin who do this from their heart and do it with a design to love and to nurture and to heal. And again, I think are painted. One of the traditions of the mediums throughout time is, I think, you all are kind of painted with a common brush, and oftentimes it's right. But
a black hat and a broom.
But the fact is, someone like yourself brings an integrity and a compassion to. I think that's what I think any of us, because priests and ministers are, and rightfully so, are painted pretty badly these days. And yet, when you meet someone that's coming at this with compassion, no matter what their faith tradition, you just know it to be integrity. And I think that's where this. So folks are like, okay, well, you know, the kids aren't going to go trick or treating. There's no candy. I don't need any more fear in my life. All hell is Eve. Skip it. And yet, I think this year, I think it's more profoundly, organically ours than ever before.
How so?
We have seen that frantic, courageous hospitality, no matter no matter who knocks, there have been caregivers and nurses and doctors and sanitation workers and hospice care workers and people who have given everything they have to anyone who asks. We've seen it throughout the last year. You may have discovered people in your own life you didn't even know, neighbors you didn't know their name, and now we know who they are. We yell across the street at each other. We check in on each other. We have seen from the heart compassion and integrity and love from the most unexpected of places. And we have also known fear, very, very real fear, every day, day in and day out, with no relief from it. And we even hear people around us going, I'm sick of this. It's like, well, sure, we all are. Nobody can live with that kind of daily fear without some kind of breakdown. Here's a night in which we can, within safe distancing, I mean, I'm going to decorate my house out the wazoo, as if to say to my neighbors, you know, I'm here and I love you, and to celebrate the light and darkness of these women and men who daily give everything they have. To say this is a night where we don't need to make up a Hollywood movie about fear. We know what it is, and in the face of it, say, you know what? We are a community. We are a family, and you can get as scary as you want. And we're going to do this together. We're going to sit down. We're going to eat. We're going to check in on each other. But we are going to do this. We are going to make this, so that this night could be a pledge, just to say, to celebrate those who are heroes in our lives, but also to say that there is within each one of us a hero, a desire, a compassion, and that be a blessing to the world. And I think that is profound. And I know it in people like Kevin and the people that we serve. I know it to be real. And so I will go, and there's fun in it, and there's real fear, but it's from the heart. And I think that's something to celebrate.
Well spoken. It's like we've been living, this pandemic is like Halloween every day, where there's fear, there's hospitality, there's helping, there's opening up of not your homes necessarily, but your hospitality, and any way that you can. You're looking out for somebody, you're making sure they have, okay, I'm going to drop some food off, you know. So it's just like Halloween every day, scared and all sorts of crazy things. Let's just, I've got this, saw a lot of hearts and thumbs up. Let's take some questions from people who are watching today. If you guys have any questions for Reverend Flaherty or myself about anything appropriate, right?
Also, if just as on All Souls Day, I celebrate 3 masses in the Catholic tradition. If it would mean something to you and you put the name of a loved one in the comments, I will remember them as part of my masses that day, if that would mean something to you.
Oh yeah, because you have online masses at what site is it that you have your online masses right there in your chapel?
The Saint Sebastian.
It's called Saint Sebastian. What's the full title of it? It is it's a long title, isn't it?
It's the Saint Sebastian Institute for Catholic Heritage and Culture.
That's what it is, and that's where he does, you know, these daily masses. And if you would like to have some intentions done or a mass done, just leave them in the comment section of this broadcast, and he will respond and say, okay, I will do, you know, I will honor this person or bring this person up at this particular daily mass. Yeah,
if it's a more personal nature, please go ahead and put it in a private message.
Oh, right, in a private.
That's open to everyone, if that would mean something to you.
So let's see if anyone has any questions. Questions about Halloween, questions about what Father Flaherty does, David Flaherty does, what I do. Let's see here. Daryl Flick was watching, got Prairie Griffith on, Janny, Vanita Olge, Phyllis was on, Janny, Cheryl Hicks, Lisa Moss. Wow, healing ministry, never thought of it like that. Makes a lot of makes it a lot less scary to me, says Lisa.
That's Lisa Fens.
Does the Bible say not to talk to the dead? Says Janny Crisp.
The Bible says a lot of things, the Bible speaks in a lot of different levels and a lot of different reasons for different throughout history. I think, and includes all kinds of opinions. Now, this is my take on scripture, is that it's a living word. And in coming to it each time, we find something different in it. And I think when we come to this reading, it's clearly that it's more about the compassion and love that's found there than worrying about certain details. But I am sure in Leviticus it says somewhere that you should not talk to the dead. Right alongside, you shouldn't be eating shellfish, and you shouldn't be wearing clothes of two different fibers put together, and all kinds of things.
Right. So we sometimes are very selective as to, I think modern day Christians are very selective as to what they will follow, what they won't follow, because the Bible is written by many different people over many different centuries. And history is definitely documented differently than it is today. Today it's all about facts and figures. Back in the day when the Bible and those people were writing, those different folks in different languages, it's all about what's the meaning. They were trying to get a meaning across as as part of their history. What message are they trying to provide? And so they did it many different ways. So yeah, it's a mix of many different people with many different languages over many centuries. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of, I'm sure you could find yes and no for just about anything out there.
Well, and again, not to belittle it, but I think just as with Kevin's work, with the medium, people come to us with different agenda, and depending on where they're coming from is going to dictate how we answer. And so Kevin may have someone who's looking for all kinds of evidence, whereas somebody else may just want to have that interaction and trust implicitly that he knows what he's doing. And so it's more about the message than about the evidence, but it depends on where the person's coming from.
That's true. And I've seen that in both of mine. Many folks, they just want more evidence. I'm going to make sure you really got my father or my sister or my, whatever. And others are just waiting to get to that message. Let's see. Dion Dickerson says, David, is All Saints Day the same in the Baptist religion?
I believe that because in the Reformed sisters and traditions, which would be Baptists, Protestants of every kind, All Saints Day is a very marked day because it is the day upon which Martin Luther nailed his theses to the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral, trying to reform the Catholic Church. But as we know, it ended in the fracturing of the Catholic Church into all of the different denominations. So I know that Reformation Sunday or Reformation Day is tied to All Saints Day, and I believe that would be with Baptists as well. But if there is and again, it's different from different community to community, especially within the Baptist Church. Each parish community I know is very clear on their understanding. It's a day. It may be more a day focused on. It's certainly not focused on the officially recognized saints of the Roman Catholic Church, but on our loved ones who are in, through their faith, are in the presence of
the past, rather than honoring the saints. Janet West says, "What is a mass? I'm Baptist." Sure,
it's the Catholic celebration of Eucharist, the Catholic celebration of communion, and again, as a Roman Catholic, which is what I was raised, it wouldn't make sense for me to offer that. But as I've come to understand my Catholicism, which in Greek means universal, it's at the altar celebrating communion. It's my input to the spiritual life of the world. And again, it's not for everybody, but if it would mean something to have a loved one just remembered as part of that celebration, then I open it up to that. But I also understand that People, again, if it speaks to your heart, then it's just wanting to offer that.
So it's a service, and
Is it?
everyone does a service differently. Even Protestants are doing, they do their services slightly differently. And it's all based on the Roman Catholic service. And then they kind of like, let's reform it and make it our own. It all started there. Claudette McIntosh from Hawaii says, what is your view on what's the difference between the Catholic Church and the spiritualist church?
Kevin, would you speak on the spiritualist church?
Yes, the spiritualist church may or may not be religious. They may or may not talk about God or Jesus. Some of them do, some of them don't, but both of them have a focus on proving the existence of life after death through demonstration of, mediumship as part of the church service. So that is definitely the spiritualist church, or the spiritualism church of today. And the Catholic Church is just the traditional.
Well, at the core of Christianity, I would say, but at the core of Catholic heritage is this idea that the death and resurrection of Christ, the death and the life that lived afterwards, is not something that we remember about Jesus, but something that we would spiritually participate in. Whereby I think that would be a connecting point with the spiritualist, is this understanding that not just life after death, but life beyond death, life that happens after those things that you would think would kill you. So there's the passion and the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is a model, but that each of us in our own way, even in this life, would participate in that spiritually, so as to bring that, because the resurrection is a different way of living, a radically different way of living, so that in the face of injustice, we would, through death and resurrection of Christ, find a radically different way of living, which would be one of justice for all. In the sight of hatred and ignorance, and again, imaging that, I think that would be the connection. Again, as Kevin said, the difference would be is that we very much talk about God and about Christ, but I think we have that connection, that idea of what, the living beyond what would seek to kill us.
Right. It's all about, okay, we're trying to be the best who we are now. Now let's talk about when we pass on. And different religions and different communities deal with it, talk about it differently. And no matter what faiths around the world, it's all handled slightly differently. So it's what's most comfortable to you, whether it's your tradition that you were raised in, and then all of a sudden you took a right turn, and then as part of your spiritual journey and development, this seems more, it resonates with you, this different way of looking at it. And so that's where people change, their religion, or they leave the traditional religion world and then they call themselves, I'm more of a spiritual person. It's like, okay, it's part of their spiritual journey. Let's see here. Any ideas? Let's see here. Let's see here. That would make sense. A lot of questions here. I'm a Baptist. Janet says, I'm a Baptist and I'm a medium. Right on.
Well done.
Well done, you. God sent me this gift and I use it for the good. Janet West. Claudette.
There's that compassion, that integrity and compassion.
Yeah, Claudette says, thank you for your explanation. Let's see here. Bridget Hastings says, I know, I speak to my lover who passed all the time. Let's see here. No, basically it can help people that crossed. There's all sorts of, they're commenting, I guess, while you're talking or I'm talking. Let's see. Bridget Hastings. She's talking about her Christian family doesn't believe in spirits. They think mediums are of the devil. And she says, I disagree, though.
it's interesting that that's where folks go. Um, so this morning with my little UCC, United Church of Christ parish, we had our All Hallows Sunday celebration. And it's an odd thing to hear because there are Christian denominations that see Halloween as, and the first thing they go to is the devil, who Kevin's heard me talk about, this personification of evil. I mean, it's creepy Uncle Satan, because he's part of the family. The tradition is he was one of the angels and fell from heaven, but he's part of the family and he's always going to show up. You don't eat any of the food that he brings. You don't leave him alone with the kids, and you don't really engage him in conversation. But you also shouldn't be surprised. I mean, now that's using that image of a personification, but I tend to believe that we have within us as human beings the ability to be saints or to be the exact opposite. We kind of want to push that out of ourselves. We really can't handle either extreme. We can't believe the best about ourselves or the absolute worst, that it is within us to do either. And the courage each day to live a life that moves towards the goodness and away from, but that the first time we try to attack evil, we've got to look inside our own lives and realize it's in there. But yeah, so Halloween has been seen as I've heard it called the birthday of Satan. And that comes from, I think, that artificial manufacturing of fear. But there's a healthy way to look at it. And I'm sorry, the woman's name, when she works with folks, I know that she's not experiencing evil, but that there's goodness coming from her heart and her love. And so people sort of go from one reaction to another. I pray and hope that she and others in her situation have people that do support her and do uphold her and really see the ministry, the real ministry and love that it takes to do that. And love and prayers to her.
Dion says, Kevin, what does Halloween mean for someone like myself? I'm not sure, Dion, I know exactly what the question is. What is it? Well, you get lots of hearts and thumbs up every time you talk.
Oh.
I'm jealous. What does Halloween mean for someone like myself?
Well, Dion told us earlier, is she
of the Baptist, right?
Okay, sure.
So it's almost like, what does it mean for someone? It's like, I say part of the discovery and self-development. What does it mean to you? It's like, it's really part of your journey. I would say, figure out what you're comfortable with, investigate it, read about, talk with folks. Halloween, we were talking about being a day of being scared, but of also being very generous combined. So Halloween for some people is just about scaring people. So I'm not sure, Dion, exactly what exactly you had. Did you have any idea what she was trying to ask there?
I think it's one that any of us ask when we realize that in today's world, the majority of folks do not align themselves as practicing Christians or Jews, but align themselves as people, very good, wonderful, fabulous, loving, kind, extraordinarily beautiful people who don't own a faith tradition either because they are a generation that was never raised in it, or specifically, they can't find one that doesn't make them sick to their stomach. And so, which I get. And it's, so what is All Hallows Eve? But I think looking back at the core traditions, it's this, I mean, I don't think we have to have any specific faith to look around us and see that courageous hospitality, to see to know the fear, and just to say, and knowing that this is a little bit much, but knowing that in every generation, as human beings, as a human community, we have sought and understood that there's something spiritual in our life that we can't talk through, we can't touch, we can't, but we know it to be true, regardless of any religion, that there's always been a spiritual, be it the solstice comes, the winter solstice comes, and you get everybody indoors. And I think that this is, so in our day, we have the holiday season where Halloween comes and then the sugar rush wears off and somewhere Thanksgiving is stuck in there and then it's Christmas. Because the solstice and the equinox and this night were based primarily on nature, which nature shut down quick, cold, dark, and dead, real fast. What we call, the winter solstice and this November 1st, it was all one thing. And the response was, you get everyone indoors because the cold and the dark will kill you. So no one gets left outside. And that includes your ornery neighbor who has PO'd you every day this past year, but there was something human about you get everybody indoors. Can you imagine that kind of welcoming of these days of Samhain, which is the Celtic name for November 1st, or the winter solstice? No matter who they voted for, no matter where they live in, no matter what neighborhood they live in, no matter what their race or creed or color, or you get everyone indoors. That is a basic human desire, a need. If we were to work on that, I think the next idea of religion or spirituality that we would know as human beings would be just that. We are a family. I have kids that are sleeping on the street tonight. They are my children. They're not statistics, they're not numbers. I have to think differently about what I'm going to do, knowing that I have family members. That's a radically different way of thinking. And I think it may be the next step that we move towards an understanding, because we're always going to have this spiritual connection as humans. And if we've trashed it so badly with organized religion, what is the next step? And I think it's this idea that when I think about the poor, not as a name or a number, but my family, I've got to act differently. So a person of any denomination or faith, I think, can tap into that, or could take that and run with it.
I just got some clarification from Dion about Halloween. You're talking about being the day with the veil is the thinnest. She's like, because she's a sensitive and actually part of my Academy of Real Magic, my training program. Is she going to be more sensitive? Is it going to be a special day where we have to be real careful about, and protect our empathic ability? Yeah, possibly. I always say, if you believe it, especially when it comes to sensitivities, everyone's going to be kind of genned up on that day. I just say, if you're super empathic and you pick up on the emotions of others, or you just will pick up on the energy of others, it's going to be, I would say, make sure you protect yourself with intention. Today, Halloween, I'm going to protect myself where I'm not going to be adversely affected by the energy of those outside of my, my own bubble. There are techniques to protect yourself if you feel uncomfortable, you feel like it's going to be pretty crazy out there. I say you can be psychic and sensitive on any day, and that's what I teach in my class. Halloween,
touch base with each other, reach out to colleagues and just check in and
say, how you doing? I'm having a horrible day today. I'm all nervous today. Then encourage them to see themselves in their bubble of protection and protect yourself as an empath. You're sensitive and empath yourself, Mr. David. So yeah, I would just say it can be just the way what is your intention going into the day? If you feel like, you're afraid and you're going into it, then in fact, you're going to be adversely affected. So put some protection around you. But I'd say, you can be psychic and sensitive and be a medium on any day of the year. And I don't feel like Halloween, it's easier for me to do that kind of work. But
that's part of our reality as well, is we set these days, Christmas or birthdays, or we set these days as human beings as a day where we all can focus on a truth or an understanding. But in fact, it's every day. to someone who's coming from this, just exactly what Kevin just said, whatever, coming from compassionate love, it's every day. So sure, but always, Kevin and I share a bond of collegiality that I could not live without, where we call and we speak back and
My
forth.
God, this is what happened today. Can you believe this? And oh my God, and we just sometimes need a sounding board, or kind of a way to kind of relax and to speak comfortably about the work that we do in this ministry of healing, and reaching out. It's really, yeah, it's important to have colleagues or friends who are doing what you do, and to be able to share and to help each other through. Like, I just need to listen. Oh my God, I had a really tough day today when I was doing such and such.
And remember what Andorra does. She doesn't fix it. She doesn't tell them, oh, it's all going to be okay. She says, you're going to sit, you're going to eat something, because I hear that you have not eaten in a day. You're going to rest, and then you're going to go forward. And sometimes that's what we do for each other. We don't fix it. We don't make it okay. We just sit.
That's it. And the Witch of Endora that's part of her, like, okay, I can do this, but first you sit, you eat, you relax, then we'll get some information, and then you move on with your life. Let's see here. Dion says, thank you. Karen Flaherty says, shelter is so important, praying for the unsheltered. She says, what else can I do?
And I think because we are so socially distanced right now, it's stopping and saying, ask yourself that. And Karen is, you may notice from her last name, is a part of the Flaherty clan. She's my cousin, who I love dearly, who I know from her heart and mind reach out in love and compassion. But it's a time to sit and look in and say, okay, well, I can't get up and perhaps today march in a peaceful protest, or I can't get out, but within the confines that I am today, what can I do? And oftentimes it's to put a prayer out there, to put a prayer, to say a prayer for someone who has no one to pray for them, or feels they have no prayer to make. We have to today, in many ways, figure out what we can do realistically, and in a way that keeps us healthy, so that we can continue to do what we need to do. But the prayer for each other, the prayer for peace of mind and peace of heart, has become my constant prayer over this last year.
Call in and touch base with people, your friends, people, that your family. Daniela Walls, who I met yesterday, actually. Any ideas about developing a phobia late in life? Are there methods to get rid of phobia if it feels more like a spiritual attack than anything physical or mental? Well, Daniela, I know that you are a super sensitive empath, and so you're picking up on the energy of the issues, the people you're talking about. I mean, you're able to tap into and kind of get a sense of things emotionally. And empaths it's amazing. You can gather information ways that other people cannot do it. So you're able to get an insight into people, into issues that other people can't. What's important with empaths, you have to be able to learn how to open or actually close to protect yourself, because you can be bombarded as a sponge, as an empath, pulling in all this energy and information, and just kind of overwhelming you and kind of getting you a bit, crazy in life. So I always teach those people who are super empathic is, okay, great, let's learn how to work with that, but also learn how to close and seal off and protect yourself, because that sensitivity can give you that anxiety and that fear or a phobia, or like, I feel like I'm being attacked, from the outside, when in fact the attack is you're absorbing all that emotional energy from others, whether you're talking about them, talking with them. And I know that she's a radio host. So she's picking up on and in tune with all the craziness that's going on in the political world. She's a progressive far left radio host. So I know that you're into it and you're absorbing, and now you have to learn to be able to protect yourself and close off. So when you're done your work, close down, release that energy that you've gathered to understand, the issue or the person or what's going on that you're talking about.
when when I was preparing for ordination, it had been 15 years between my master's degree, my educational work, and my actually coming to a point where I could serve as an openly gay man. And within the United Church of Christ, there was all kinds of psychological testing. And my biggest fear was I had somehow lost the call that I knew I had early on. What they said to me was, absolutely, this is the work you should be doing. You're doing it. However, you have been opened to every kind of sadness and craziness in your life. If you do not keep in contact with someone that you can just let go of that stuff with, you will continue to collect other people's things and it will kill you. And one of my ordination vows within the UCC was to keep a consistent relationship with someone that I can let that go, because I've seen it happen. You just hold on to things, and that you can continue to do the blessed work that you do. You have to find, and it could be a therapist, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague, but someone who has no agenda but to help you just let those things go is life-giving.
And it could be yoga, it could be meditation. I mean, there's 100 forms of meditation. But I'd be happy to talk to you about that. April Johnson she says, if you have intention set and have for a long period of time, however, you see no result from it, should you continue with that intention or change it? If you have an intention set, sounds like April, you're trying to, an intention set. I wonder what this intention, and she's seeing no. I say that perhaps intention is important. I want to do something, or I want to get something. You want to create something in your life. It sounds like, and this intention is this part of your creation, to bring it into your life. It sounds like perhaps you need to just consultation on different ways of bringing things into your life with this intention. It's one thing to say, oh, I want to do this, but then I always like to teach my students, okay, here are a couple of techniques to use to actually, make this magic happen, bring things into your life, because people always say, be careful what you think about, be careful what you fear. Those are, things that may pop into your life, and there's some technique going on that you don't even know about that you're doing. So I think perhaps the question is what this intention is there's maybe a different way to bring what you want into your life, and maybe you just don't have the mechanics in place and a bit of a ritual, because it's important to have a bit of ritual when you do certain things, when you're trying to develop and manifest and make things happen in your life. So it sounds like you just have, instead of just change the technique on the way you do this. That's what I would recommend for April.
Oftentimes when we ask for something, we ask specifically in a way because of our filters, because of our emotional life, and we specifically ask for something and we keep asking because this is what we want. And oftentimes it's that interaction with another person that says, maybe you need to broaden what you're praying for, to take what it is, the intention that you have, into the world of the sacred, but to trust that, and this is the hardest thing, there is a being that is greater, that has your best interest at heart, that might see what you're asking for only brings your life this point. What you could be is something beyond that. And then your intention opens up to be a little bit more wider, to let go and understand that there may be a furthering of that intention, that just because of who we are and our filters and our upbringing. So oftentimes it's with a spiritual director or someone to just talk it out. And again, is that I have the best of ideas. And then I talk to people and I find that, that's wonderful. Okay, so let's not do that. Let's, it's the talking with other people, even if I know better. even if I know this is not the best of my ideas, I need to talk it through with another person just to say it out loud.
But if April is talking about learning to create things and bringing things, manifesting, which is the most ancient form of magic, making things happen. And if she's praying, she's meditating, and these are all wonderful things. She has the intention. The question is now, it's about a mechanic. What's another thing that you can add to manifest, to bring into your life? And I always use visualization to do that. To visualize the end goal. What is it that you really want? See the image of a picture in your mind of that success. Not getting there, but this is what it looks like when you get that thing that you want to create. And that's what you have an image in your mind, and with your breath you send it up to to heaven, to the universe, to bring to bring about and to bring into your life, to create and bring into your life. That's one technique, and you can just do it all the time. But the key is add some imagery to your creation and your intention. Like, what's the image? If someone saw a picture of that you showed them, they say, oh, this is you being super happy doing this kind of a job, or doing a job, or with a family, with children. It's like, I would say add imagery to your intention, and use your mind to see that image with your breath, send it up to heaven or to the universe, and allow it to magically bring it into your life. That's one way of dealing with magic. It's the most ancient form of magic that I like to talk about. Let's see if there are any other questions here. Thank you very much, says April. Very helpful. I think that's it. I don't think I have. Oh, wait a minute. I slipped one in. Heather Honeycutt. How to begin ritual? I believe I may be a lone magician in need of guidance and direction. I've fallen off my path, and it's a scary place. Well, Heather, it sounds like you might benefit from my training, my one-on-one training, which I call the Academy of Real Magic, which is one-on-one coaching, helping you understanding what your abilities are, what your natural abilities are, and then how to develop it, and how to steer you in the right direction upon your spiritual path. And we fall off all the time, but that path, I always say, look to the left, look to the right. You can take diversions from your path and realize, oh my gosh, look over here. Oh, that's amazing. I will bring this to my path going forward. I'll come back onto my main path. Or you'd be like, oh no, this is really the path I want to go on. So it sounds like you need some coaching, some training. And I do that with my Academy of Real Magic folks. I recommend just going to my website, kevinpaulpsychicmedium.com, and looking at it and see if it's for you. It does sound like you need some guidance, and I like to teach people how to understand their abilities, to figure out what your goals are, and then put you on the right path to develop that. And it's all, you have to do your homework, and it's easy to fall off, and it's easy to get thrown off your journey in life. But it's also very important to have someone who, as a coach, can coach you back onto the right path, and to help you get in the right direction, and to make you think about things a little differently, perhaps. So that may be a solution for you. Let's see. Heather says, thank you. She says, definitely. All righty. I think that's about it. Do you have anything else, David? We've been going about an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh.
How do we do that? Well, let's go ahead and end our session here. I want to thank everyone for joining us on my Psychic Mediums live broadcast. I always like to bring in new and exciting guests from different perspectives. I think I have a medium who, actually this coming week, actually on Thursday, is a medium who specializes in animal communication, and she's written a book about that. So I will be talking to her on my next Psychic Mediums Live. And but for this one, our pre-Halloween special, I want to thank you so much, Reverend David Flaherty, for being my guest here and talking about the Witch of Endor, and all things Halloween, All Souls Day, All Saints Day, helping us understand what they all mean and where they came from, and then helping to answer some questions. So if you don't mind, would you give us a blessing, a Halloween blessing for this week? And that's how we shall end.
It would be my honor. Beloved, we tell so many stories of how we began and how life started and how the world came to be. And we know that in the beginning there was chaos, and goodness hovered over that chaos and brought everything that we know it to being. In the chaotic days and nights of our lives, may goodness and love and compassion hover over our hearts, hover over our chaos, and bring good, integrity, compassion, love into being. And as you are a blessing to the world, may you be blessed this day and always in the name of everything that is holy. Amen.
Amen. If you're still on, give some thumbs up and some hearts for that blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
I
having
hear
me.
my witch's hat here. So I will.
So a happy All Hallows Eve.
Yes, bid everyone a happy Halloween, Souls Day, Saints Day, everything week. So with that, we shall say good night.
Good night.